Hey, what's up, everybody? It's the Hardy Construction. You can find us on Instagram, YouTube, as well as Facebook. If you find us on, what is it, YouTube, like I just said? If you find us on YouTube, give us a like, share our videos, tell people about us because we like it. Today's film is...
No One Lives, 2012, if only that were true.
With your host, Komp and...
Jamiroquai.
Yeah, I did it backwards. Anyway, so No One Lives, 2012. A gang of ruthless highway killers kidnap a wealthy couple traveling cross country, only to shockingly discover that things are not what they seem. Directed by Ryuhei Kitamura, written by David Cohen.
I know that name.
Same here. I do. That name sounds very familiar. Starring Luke Evans, Gary Grubbs, Adelaide Clemens. So why'd I pick No One Lives? Because...
Oh, Midnight Meat Train.
Yeah, no, because I'm trying to find a good Ryuhei Kitamura film, and the last...
And my shit segment of that horrible Nightmare Cinema movie
did not prove that he's a good film director, but...
I don't remember which one my shit is.
My shit was the religious one. You know, the one in the... Like, it looked like it could get good, but they just didn't have the money to do it.
Okay.
You don't remember that? You saw that one. Anyway, so really,
I forgot everything except that really good one.
You have good selective memory then. Well, Ryuhei Kitamura is this Japanese director. He came onto the scene about 15 years ago with a film called Versus, a movie that we will cover sometime down the road.
Okay. Yeah,
very good. It's Evil Dead meets the Japanese Yakuza and karate. It's really great. And ever since that, I've kind of been rooting for him because that film was done with no budget, but it was as fun as any Evil Dead film. Depending on who watches it. And he has tried to break into the American cinema, dome.
Why?
Well, whatever. This is where you make more money.
Stick where you're doing good.
I know, but you get more money to make films here, and people, listen, around the world... Filmmakers, they not for nothing, they want that American dream. American cinema is basically the number one export of the United States. There's a lot of people.
When I look at some of the really good movies from not in America, it seems almost better to have a lower budget. And
of course, there's no question about it. I mean, like now it's just like a world of sequels and superhero films. Not that that's the worst thing. Well, sequels.
I like superhero films.
Superhero films are okay. But anyway, so Ryuhei Kitamura came to the United States. He did a handful of films, like obviously Midnight Meat Train, but that had a whole fiasco behind it where the company basically shuttered it. And it was a decent, actually, little horror film based on a Clive Barker short story. With a really bad title. Like, the title is cool to me, but to, like, general audience, people were laughing when I remember seeing the trailer for the first time. And he also came out with... what else did he come out with? Well, with this film, No One Lives, which was... Then thought I was taking revenge on him because it was a WWE production.
Well, I saw WWE and I just assumed the worst.
Oh,
and it wasn't as bad as I expected.
I'm pretty sure WWE films are the worst. But with... That
Leprechaun Origins thing, I'll never forget.
Yeah, that was fucking horrible. Oops, I forgot about that one.
That was so bad.
But Kitamura has a spotty sort of... deal with films. His films are very stylized. See, this is when we saw Mashit, the one about the demon taking over the church. Like,
okay, I do remember it now. I do.
You can remember how there were flashes of things that could be good, but the budget.
Well, didn't they fuck him on the budget?
Yeah, they fucked everybody on the budget with that movie. But it's an anthology called Nightmare Cinema that it doesn't matter if you see it or not. Maybe for the David Slade one.
Just watch that one.
Yeah, David Slade, the road. David Slade's The Road to Egress. Anyway, so I was watching this and I was like, I know Kitamura can make good films, or at least watchable films, because I'm like Danny, I'm sure there are writers or directors that you will see regardless. Like, I'm sure you've loved a lot of them, but then some of their stuff will be shit. But you're like, you know what? I like it because of this guy. It's just even like Takashi Miike, the guy that we always come to, the guy who's like directing.
He's never made anything bad.
Not that I know of. Even though the second time I saw The Happiness of Katakuri, I wasn't feeling as much as I saw it the first time.
That's probably like my least favorite, right? But it's still.
But still, it was wild. There's stuff in it that was weird, that was fun. But you know what I mean? Like, I'm sure Miike is not everybody's sort of tea, but you watch him because at least he does interesting things, and that's what I like about. Ryuhei Kitamura is because he obviously borrows a lot from American cinema, but gives this sort of flashy Japanese appeal to it. He did a Godzilla film called Godzilla Final Wars before Godzilla came back in the U.S. and Japan. He made the quote unquote final Godzilla film where Godzilla fought every single monster from all of his films, and it's just as insane as you think it would be. What's the guy
that was in the first American one and Ferris Bueller?
What do you mean Ferris Bueller?
Didn't he star
in the American one? Oh no, you know what I was thinking about?
Wouldn't it be cool if they did a Ferris Bueller Godzilla crossover?
With Jeffrey Jones. Jeffrey Jones,
Godzilla running.
No, they should have
Godzilla running after Mothra, and you just hear like, oh. Yeah.
They should have had Jeffrey Jones in it too. You know the principal that was looking for him?
Oh, the pedophile.
Got arrested, and
he's not so sad.
He's not running away from Godzilla. He's just trying to take all his pornography from his like USB disc and running away from. He's running away from the cops, not
Godzilla's running to the cops, and he's trying to stop him. So I can't believe that guy is in so many things. He was
the dad in Beetlejuice. Jeffrey Jones was funny.
He's also in Stay Tuned. He's also in I was just about to say the one. Oh, Mom and Dad Save the World.
He was in this. I think the last theatrical film that I heard about him being in was something called Who's Your Caddy, and it was.
And it's like a fact, right? It's not.
He had to register as a sex offender because he tried to. I think he asked a 14-year-old boy to take nude photos or something like that. But his last theatrical film, if I remember correctly, was like one of those black comedies, not like a dark comedy. I mean, like black people's comedy, but the really bad ones. And it was called Who's Your Caddy? And he was like this stuffy old white guy who's trying to keep these black people off of his golf course. I was like, oh man, that's sad. What a horror. Because there's great black comedies
this guy's starred in a lot of movies.
Yeah. Oh well, fuck him. So anyway, now Kitamura, once I just wanted to make sure, I was like, I'm not crazy. I know Kitamura can do good with a budget because my shit there was no budget to it. Like it was just cheap shit and it looked horrible. And so I was like, he also has a film that just came out recently before Nightmare Cinema called Downrange, which actually I hear is very good. And it's about a couple of people that are stuck on a car while there's a sniper trying to shoot him, which is very frightening because that's not too far away from fucking reality right now in the United States. But anyway, so I was watching this and I had always heard about this film, and unfortunately I knew the twist before I went into it because somebody spoiled it in reviews.
I don't know the twist. Please, I don't understand.
Okay, so eventually the twist is, listen, I would give you people, we're about to spoil this film, and I would give this a passing watch. I'm not saying it's imperative that you see this film, but it's not a terrible movie. It's just sort of is what it is.
Okay.
If you want to see it,
I honestly have no idea.
It's a bit of Okay, I'll explain it now. It's a goofball slasher film. So I'm going to explain to some that Danny, for some reason, Danny might be the only one that doesn't understand this plot point.
Maybe I'm stupid, or I'm very distracted.
The film is sold. Originally, it was sold as guy and his girlfriend get kidnapped by a group of thugs that are like murderers and stuff like that. Right. But what the audience doesn't know is that the guy that they kidnapped is a psychopathic serial killer. That way it reverses the sort of...
Sure.
Okay, it reverses the sort of trope, which makes it like, a bad guy versus bad people, and you're supposed to root for the serial killer in this. So he's basically like Jason if he had a girlfriend that got killed.
Yeah, no, I get that.
Okay, so here's the thing. He's running around with his girlfriend in the beginning of the film, and there's all this. At the very beginning of the film, there's this typical slasher girl running through the woods. She gets taken again, and she carves in some of the worst CGI I've ever seen her name on the tree. It's CGI because the tree moves, but then the letters aren't as fast as the tree moving. So it's like doesn't make any sense why they couldn't fucking just make plaster and tape it onto the fucking tree. Why is it CGI? Yeah. Like, well, is it that hard? Did Kitamura write it in Japanese or something?
It's a WWE. They probably insisted on it.
Vince McMahon was like, I like it CGI.
The $1 Million Man.
Austin, it was me, Austin. Anyway, I swear to God, the Attitude Era of WWE. Like, I don't give a shit about wrestling, but
I stopped watching after WWF.
That's true. During the 2000 era, like when it was like The Rock and Stone Cold, It was so entertaining because it was so stupid.
No, and that seemed cool, actually.
There was some funny shit. They're trying to do that now, but I'm like, yeah, right, in the PC era, there's no way. But there was just some great stuff about there really was. Like, let me just take a second. There was, like, you remember that lady, Mae Young? She was, like, 80 years old wrestling. And she had a relationship with this big, giant black guy. I forgot the guy's name. I think his name was Not Earthquake, something like that. He was this huge black guy. And there was, like, this rap group with... two white guys that were like, one guy was named Scotty Too Hottie. I remember that. And they were all in the ring fighting this huge black dude. And then Mae Young was like an 80-year-old lady. She comes out on stage, and then she has like a microphone on, and she goes, "You can't fight him. You can't fight him." Like, she's telling them not to beat up the big guy, right? And they're like, well, whatever. And she goes, because she's been having a sexual affair with the big black guy. And she's like an old lady.
Man.
And she goes, "I'm pregnant." And the look on those guys, like, all wrestlers are pretty bad actors, but the look of horror on their face had to be the funniest fucking thing I've ever seen on television ever. Anyway, wrestling, that era is hilarious. So Vince McMahon
I love The Rock, like Dwayne Johnson. I think he's awesome. I've never seen any of his fights, really.
Yeah, I mean, it's whatever.
No, I mean, nothing beats, like, Randy Savage and, like, what are those fucking... There was these two brothers called, like, the Wacka
Bushwhackers? The Bushwhackers.
Bushwhackers, yeah. And,
they
like, all
walk
that
with
shit.
their thumbs up.
And they would just walk around doing this absurd dance. It was great.
God, those were fun times. Seriously, back then, like the 2000s, no wonder those shits were great. Anyway, back to WWE. They produced a couple films like Danny said. I think that the fucking Leprechaun movie was their last one. So good riddance.
It was horrible.
And I think Vince McMahon's wife, she was running for some sort of seat, but then Donald Trump gave her work. So, because they're friends with the Trumps and stuff, so they put a lot of money into him. And but
why did I support this movie?
So anyway, WWE did a handful of movies. Their first one was called it had Kane, the wrestler Kane, who was supposed to be, the Undercover's brother, the Undertaker's brother. And then they also had this one. I forgot what other WWE films, but anyway. So this is Rui Kitamura's, and it is flashy. It is clean.
What is the twist?
Okay, right. So the bad guy, they find the robbers.
Why did she kill herself?
Okay, Danny, I'm going to tell you right now. The robbers take the couple, and we find out, and you're gonna understand in a second. The girlfriend of the bad guy, remember when she was in the room with him, and he tells her to take her clothes off, and he kisses that little scar on her belly.
And then the other girl had.
Do you remember she had a scar on her belly too because she had a tracking device in her? He's trying to make people into serial killers like him, and that girl was into it and was a little bit excited about the life. But then she realized, you know what? I'm just getting myself into worse and worse shit. That's why she was like jealous. She was essentially the same thing as the blonde girl, but she took the apple, so to speak, that the blonde girl did not. So that girl,
I kind of was thinking something along these lines, but I didn't realize
so
it was
the
a
brunette
tracking
that
device.
kills herself basically did the same thing as the blonde, but she actually went along with it. She, that's why she was a little bit jealous. She was like, "Oh, do you like her more than me?" That sort of shit. So she knew she was sort of in a competition with this other girl, but he actually liked her. I think he actually liked both of them because they were sort of, he was upset that she got killed. I could believe he was upset. I think he's very like a sociopath, but that's essentially why, because she had the exact same scar on her belly, which I thought was neat that she had
was super hot.
The brunette, yeah, she was very hot. The blonde too is very hot too.
That's brunette's more my type, I think.
No, I hear you. The blonde, surprisingly, unsurprisingly, the WWE has a film where there's hot girls in it. Like Vince tells Rui Kitamura, like Vince is like, "Rui, don't put any woman past a certain age." And he's like, "Oh, shit." Anyway, so that brunette. So they don't really call Luke. So Luke Evans is the main character in this film. Luke Evans, we just had recently seen that terrible movie Ma. Maybe he was a guy that she had a crush on.
That's where I know him from.
And she put dog blood in him. That's your fantasy.
I knew I recognized him. Okay.
You wanted to put dog blood in yourself. That was your fantasy. So Luke Evans is a very good actor. I think he's a very good actor.
Okay, I gotta say, the WE Studios, they did The Rundown. That's actually a good movie.
That's a rock film, right? And then I believe they also did a movie with Stone Cold where it was like a rip off.
Condemned.
Right, it was a rip off of.
It's decent. I saw it.
Did you? It's a rip off of Battle Royale, but it's with like convicts and stuff.
I think didn't we review it? I don't know.
We did not yet.
No,
we didn't yet.
It was decent.
But yeah, so Luke Evans was also he was in the original Dracula Unleashed, which was
Oculus.
Okay, so that was good. Oculus is a very good film. Do they have anything coming out? Or
there's a lot of them here. They did some Scooby-Doo movies.
Okay, all right.
The Jetsons.
Is that coming up soon or something?
Nothing that's like jumping out is like amazing. Most of them are like no-name sort of things.
So they didn't destroy themselves with Leprechaun Origins, did they?
No, they made a few after.
Did they make the new Leprechaun? I assume they made the new one that's out.
But you know what? Now that I know that the guy that they're donating to this awful man. I'm not gonna ever give them.
Did you give up your Equinox gym thing too? Also,
I've never gone to the gym.
Okay, there was a whole thing about that in the news too.
I'm gonna be out of shape, out of protest.
So I started before you. So Luke Evans was in the original sort of try at. So everything starts with everything. Post-Marvel, after the Avengers, the whole cinematic world has changed, right? And Luke Evans was in Dracula Unleashed, which was supposed to be the first version of a dark universe, with like the Mummy and Dracula by I think it's Universal Pictures. I don't know which. I think it's them. Yeah, Universal Studios Monsters or whatever the hell it is. So that failed miserably, and he's Dracula, right? It didn't go anywhere. And then they tried to do it again with Tom Cruise as the Mummy. They tried that again. And they were going to do a whole new thing with the Invisible Man and Dracula, and that failed even worse because they had
also in the horrible Hobbit movies.
You're right.
The guy that shoots the dragon. Although I could never make it past halfway through the second one.
Those Hobbit movies were unnecessary. That fucking dragon was great though, but that.
I never even reached the dragon.
If there was a point to see that movie, just see it for the latter half of
the first movie was okay.
But the other two are ridiculously unnecessary. When they fight the dragon, it was fucking great because I think they fight the dragon in the second one, and then they just kill him.
I couldn't finish the second one. It was so bad that
they kill him in the first fucking 15 minutes of the third movie. Spoiler, sorry, and I couldn't believe.
I love the Hobbit.
And Luke Evans is the one that kills the dragon. Apparently, there's some people that have made a 1.5 hour edit of the Hobbit film. I think it was the actor. I forgot what actor it is. I could be wrong, but it's the actor from that '70s show.
I would love to see it.
Yeah, he made an edit, I believe, of The Hobbit into one film. Who's that actor from that '70s show? He played David Duke.
I'll look it up.
He's got a great podcast called Minor Adventures with Topher Grace. Topher Grace.
Kutcher?
No, Topher Grace is the guy who played Eric Foreman in the '70s show, the main kid. He played Eddie Brock in the Spider-Man movie. I like Topher Grace. He has a very good podcast and he's funny, and he edits movies down to their core and makes them interesting. He actually edited all 3 prequel Star Wars movies into one film, and apparently it's like the best.
That?
Yeah, and he's been showing them around. Like he can't legally obviously show it outside, but he holds like viewing parties of it, and people say it's like actually incredible. So good for Topher Grace.
Those first 3 movies were terrible.
So
I would love to see that version.
This film is essentially like people complain about us going off the deep end, but there's not much you cannot go off the deep end with this film because it is a generic slasher to its core. It's a very pretty looking slasher.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was good. It wasn't terrible.
I guess.
No.
It wasn't bad.
Here's the thing. This is what I
confused.
This is why I want to say like Kitamura is a competent director, but when he does something really cool, because this is an American production,
it's
obviously
a boring script.
This had to be some of the worst dialogue I've ever heard in a film. Seriously, it's bad.
Beecher from Oz was in it.
Yeah, Lee Tergesen is great in this. I mean, but he's like for 5 seconds. And Lee Tergesen's a very good actor. If you've seen him in Oz, and he was also recently in the first season of The Purge, the television show. And the thing is with The Purge, I didn't bother with the first film, but I really enjoyed the 3 films that followed it.
I've never seen any of them. I feel like
it's just like, you know, it is. If you enjoy,
it seems like schlocky mainstream garbage.
I know, and that's fun. But I mean, it's like it's not schlocky mainstream. It's schlocky mainstream garbage that's extremely violent, And the thing is with The Purge is that the first one was like a home invasion film, and I'm not really a fan of home invasion movies. They sort of bore me, except for You're Next. For some reason, that was the only one that I liked. That's a fun one. Because it turns it around. Do you know what I mean? As opposed to just regular shit.
I enjoy home invasion movies as much as slasher films, which is to say, if they're really, really entertaining, I'll like them. Otherwise, I'm just bored.
But The Purge 2, 3, and 4 basically, I don't know if you've ever seen Death Wish 3. To me, that's like the greatest sort of exploitation Punisher type of film, because it's just Charles Bronson fucking blowing people up. It's great. And that's what those films were, and they are like very much an 80s throwback sort of just running and gunning. John Carpenter started shooting people up type of film. And Lee Turkington is in the TV show, which was
the plot of Running Man.
Basically. And then there's a new movie called The Hunt, which is basically the same thing as rich people hunting down poor people. It's the same fucking shit. Anyway, but it looks good, though.
It's really poor people hunting down anybody.
But also, I wanted to say, I just, regardless from this, I realized that they gave a green light to Tales from the Hood 3, so...
Oh, Jesus. They shouldn't let that guy direct movies.
I was just as surprised. I was like, they did? It's like, why?
What is the budget? Jeez.
So I realized I recognized this actress.
I've thought back to it, and I thought back to that final one, and it is so tacky that they had the ghost of like MLK and shit.
That
in
was
there.
so
like,
bad. I know, and you weren't as offended, right?
Then I thought back to it, and I was like, nah, this is offensive. Actually, this is like
because I was like, that's bad. So have you ever seen?
This is one of the worst movies I've ever seen.
Tales from the Hood 2 is
desecrate the memories of MLK.
And I think they did that because they were African American filmmakers making it, so they thought we know these people, and you're like, I don't think you really know them. Like, why would you put Martin Luther King in a horror movie? Like,
I mean, he could have gone in there, but it's got to be a good fucking movie.
It's got to be a good story, you know? Like, I don't know. But anyway, I realized Adelaide Clemens, who plays the blonde lead in this film, like, she was, I was like, where did I see this girl from before? And she was in the Silent Hill sequel film that nobody saw, and it also had Jon Snow. She was in The Great Gatsby. She was in she was in Wolverine, the movie.
She's hot.
She's very pretty, and
not that that's all that defines her.
No, she's very pretty, but she has a very good stone cold look on her face and a very scary sort of smile.
Stone Cold Steve Austin. See, they were going full circle.
Oh, how great would it have been if she just started bashing like Foster's cans of beer on her head and just well, if she only just came out in a vest too, that would make a great movie. But it's surprisingly enough, the gore in this film is like it's not that gory. Like it's bloody. But it's not like besides that big fat guy that gets killed in the beginning, who I recognize him from a lot of things.
What did we got? Like handcuff in the mouth?
Yeah, he put the handcuff through his mouth out the sort of like Story of Ricky. You know, he punched that guy in the mouth and it went through his face. But like the gore is like I've seen worse gore in David Cronenberg's A History of Violence, and that was like an Oscar movie. Do you know what I mean? Like the gore here, it seems I have a real idea that this film like. It had to have been a lot gorier, but since it's a horror film, like the ratings board was like, no, that's NC-17. But a film like A History of Violence, they're like, oh, look at the violence, it's real. You know what I mean? So they leave it in. But here, because it's like graphic, like the girl gets killed.
I've seen much more violence in horror movies that are rated R.
Of course, I know. So I don't understand why they got, why they had to pull back.
We need to get rid of these absurd censorship. What the fuck are we, children? It's a fucking movie.
No, we can't control ourselves. Remember, video games make us kill people.
Right, video game. It's the video game and movie violence that makes us violent, not the actual violence.
Do you know how many shootings they have in Japan because of video games? Yeah. Oh, that's right. I forgot. That's right. They don't. Anyway, so
I wonder why.
I wonder. It's
could it be that they don't have access? No.
Actually, they have talking cats over there, and the talking cats give them magical like rings that
and
they
tell
can
them not to do bad things.
The moon. So yeah, this is basically just a as generic slasher as possible, but it is very deftly created. It's a very pretty looking horror film. Luke Evans is entertaining enough as a lead, as a psychopath, that he's good. Yeah, but the dialogue is like really bad. Like there's a part where he's like handling Lee Turkington over a fucking meat grinder. I don't know where he found this fucking thing. Like, where was this location that he found where he was like able to put death traps on these people and shit like that? Like honestly, into a grinder. Where the fuck was that from? Where were they? On a farm or something?
I guess they
were on a farm.
House. Yeah. But Were they on a farm? Did they say
I could only assume. Why would you have a meat grinder like that next to your fucking house? Unless he brought that shit with him and set it up. Why would a bunch of criminals
be in a farm?
Well, I guess it's remote or something like that. It could be. But he tells one of the lines that he says to Lee Turgensen he goes, you were the leader and now you're going to be the martyr. And I was like, what the fuck does that mean? Like, what is he talking about? Like, it's so stupid. But at least they got a good Derek Magyar who plays Flynn. He's a very hateable guy, and I enjoyed. Oh yeah, I enjoyed. He was very I hated his guts, but
it wasn't really bad.
Do you realize Derek Magyar looks like Jamie? Doesn't Derek Magyar remind you of our friend Jamie, the EDM artist?
Yeah. I'm trying. Which one is Derek? Which one is
the main bad guy? The main bad guy in the film, like the asshole that shoots.
Let me look at the picture. Hold on.
Look at his IMDb. He looks just like our friend.
Hold on. How do you say the name, Derek? What?
Derek Magyar. He played the character Flynn in the movie. This is just for us and not for anybody else listening to the show.
Hungarian origin.
But he plays a very good asshole in the movie, which I enjoyed. Everybody plays their roles well. It's just that they're
terrible script.
The dialogue is so bad, and the thing is, it happens so quick. Like honestly, I would have liked.
I could see this.
I would have liked to see more of the blonde girl's sort of origin, but I think that would have ruined the sort of twist of the movie.
So, I mean, did they specifically say it was a tracking device in that slit?
He pulled it out of the blonde girl, so I assume it's the same thing for the girl with the brunette. It was the same type of scar.
I didn't understand what was happening in that scene. Okay.
Oh, he pulls the blinking. It was so funny. You know the big fat guy that they killed at the beginning? Yeah. You're gonna love this story too. His name is now I realize where I saw him from. His name is Tyrus, and I think he used to be a professional wrestler, and he works for Fox News, where I guess he bashes SJWs or whatever. And he recently shows you at Fox. I really don't give a fuck. He was sending inappropriate texts to his co-host, who's this blonde, hot blonde girls that work on Fox.
Every woman on Fox.
And instead of firing him, they just separated them. They gave them both each their own shows. So the guys. Could you imagine being sexually harassed by a fucking 9-foot, 800-pound man? I'd be scared to fucking hell out of it.
And then he gets rewarded with his own.
He just gets his own show.
You know what? I'm never watching their films again.
Well, that's probably what it is. But,
fuck these people.
Listen to us. We're raving leftists. Believe me, I'm not a leftist.
I'm really not, though. I'm not like a step away from it being an actual Nazi. So I guess I am a raving leftist.
I know I can't stand either side. They're terrible. But
there are some people I have hope in. I agree.
So yeah, I don't know what to say about this. This is it's good, but the dialogue is so terrible that it sort of pulled me out of the film. But
yeah, it's not a very good script at all, but it's decently acted and directed.
Yeah, I think it's a decent film. I think it's worth a watch. It's if you just want to watch with a couple of friends, just some sort of stupid slasher film. You could do a lot worse. You believe me, you could do a lot. We've seen
but sometimes it's better to do a lot worse.
Yeah, that's true. Sometimes you can find more humor.
If you're in the mood for like a mediocre-ish film that's kind of entertaining, watch this.
What are good things that you liked about the film?
Like I said, the acting was okay. It was directed well. It looked okay. Like it was just.
Were there any specific kills that you liked in the film?
I did enjoy the when his face touched the meat grinder for a second.
Good. I liked when he pulled his ear off. That was a good scene.
Yeah, like that whole part.
The whole part where he strangles the girl just to show her like big bolt-on tits in the shower.
Yeah, that was nice. Sense. I enjoyed that.
But then the guy shoots her in the head because she wakes up. Like, what is that your reaction to shoot somebody in the head when they wake up like that? Like she's a monster or something? It made no fucking sense.
No, that was really silly.
Yeah, I like the meat grinder kill with the pulling off the. I did like that he got rid of Flynn at the end because he was like, oh, this guy just robbed me. And then also that old man, the hotel guy. Like I was like, I've seen that guy in so many things before.
What's he in?
The old guy who was like asking people for their credit cards.
What's he in?
I'm trying to see what the fuck his name is. But he's if you've seen him before.
Old man.
Is that what it is? No, I don't know. Either way, I don't know. I can't see his name on the fucking thing. Do you think he killed those frat guys in the car? I'm sure he killed those guys in the car. They just cut the scene out of the movie.
I'm gonna guess they did. Yeah.
Is it Robert Wales? Either way, whatever. So it's good. It's a fine film. Not fine. It's an okay film.
I'm trying to find out the name of the fucking the dude. the guy who owns the
hotel.
He sure doesn't age, Lee Turgensen.
No, he doesn't. There's a when you hit a certain age, I think that's just what it is. It's just like there's no like.
Okay, here he is, Gary Grubbs.
Oh shit! Oh, that's a funny name. Gary, is that the name of the actor? Yeah, Gary. Yes, Gary Grubb.
He's been in a lot of shit.
Yeah, this motherfucker's been in everything.
I think he's like one of these like extras and everything type of things.
Yeah, pretty much. X-Files, the JFK film. Yeah, I've seen this guy in basically everything. He's like one of those sort of consistent actors. He was in Bad Lieutenant, Port of Call. That was a fucked up movie.
I guess he's never like
OC.
starred in anything.
No, yeah, he's one of those sort of character actors. A character actor means that you're not good enough to play the criminal, but you're not good looking enough to play the criminal. You're only good looking enough to play the judge. I forgot who said that thing, but he's one of those actors. You know what I mean? Where your face isn't as handsome for some reason, so they don't put you as the lead.
I mean,
Will and Grace,
I love character. I think character actors are often
of course they're great. No, of course, because they kind of hold the film together. Honestly. Yeah. Anyway, all right. So, what rating would you give this film?
I give it like a 7.
Wow, that's big.
7. No, but it's Fox, so you know what? Or whatever. I give it a 6.6 for they're so badass. 6.66 out of 10. Chopping your own head off with a knife and leaving me quite confused. But now I guess I understand.
That was interesting that he stabbed himself in the throat for her to save his life, just to show that the door was open. She probably felt real dumb. I'll give it a 5 out of 10. Choking a woman to death, and I don't think it's actually the oxygen that was coming off. I think he choked her so hard that her the plastic in her tits went into her brain and killed her.
Yeah.
Or sort of. So with that, Danny, what's the final word?
Bombay, India Inc.
The horror deconstruction.